I am Rob from iTech Bakers, and welcome to my coronavirus update. We are Saturday, the 7th of March, 2020, and I'm reporting from Seoul, South Korea. Now, I've just looked at the numbers right now. There seems to be a lot of cases, new cases coming out of Iran. I don't think it's because the outbreak is any bigger. It's probably more because they've started to be a little more honest about the numbers that they have there. Now they have like something like I think 124 deaths. The death toll in Iran is likely much higher than what they're reporting. Um, I've seen some reports of some employees, hospital employees. They have filmed the body bags in a morgue in Tehran, and they actually got fired for it. But they leaked it. They leaked the video on the internet, and there was like a huge pile of body bags in the hospital's morgue. So I think the death toll is probably much higher than what they're reporting. But I think we need to deal with what they're giving right now. Of course, it's still Italy is still a big hotspot of infection. Most of the cases in Europe actually come from Italy. Now Germany has a lot of cases. France, the UK. Yeah, it is spreading, and at first I knew that the disease was gonna spread when I made my first videos, but I didn't think of it this way. I didn't think it would spread like that fast. And still, the numbers are still small. Uh, but you have to think about what are these numbers going to be in like in a month or in 2 months if it keeps going on at this rate. I think at this point, it's not. I'm not saying that people should panic, but I think that people should do the smart things. Like here in Seoul, uh, this city has like 100 cases. It's not a lot for a city of 10 million. And the huge numbers of like 6,500 cases that you will see in the news. It's actually in Daegu, which is 3 hours away, 300 kilometers away from Seoul. Daegu and Chingo. In this area, that's where all the cases are, and they have been somehow they have been contained in these cities. That area has been quarantined, and the people are not allowed to get out, and people are not allowed to go in. So and Seoul has kept itself pretty much free from the virus so far. Of course, there's about 100 cases which have been identified and contained. But here, people see they're not obligated to do that, but they pretty much all wear masks. I would say I take the subway, and I'd say that more than 90%, maybe 95%, 97% of the people do have a mask on. Of course, there are some people who don't have a mask and don't seem to really care about it, and that's okay, and they don't get they don't get attacked or beaten up like what we have seen in China. I was taking a little walk in front of Seoul Station tonight, and I've noticed there's because in front of the station there are some places where you see the homeless people. There are actually homeless people here in South Korea, believe it or not. But there's a lot of them who hang out in front of the Seoul station, and most of them, they don't have masks and they don't care about it. So I mean, people make choices, but in most public places and stores, the employees have masks, they wear gloves. Sanitizer is pretty much it's available everywhere. You have balls of sanitizer available for the public. You can sanitize your hands many times during the day, anytime you feel like doing it. Um, and these measures, I think, as a whole, if a whole society does take these measures, like to sanitize themselves and wear masks, it does have an impact on reducing um, any kind of outbreak that could happen. I think these measures do work, and you don't need to weld people's front doors shut and just lock them inside their homes to die to have an impact, to have measures that have an impact. And I was a little pessimistic before because I used to look at what was happening in China, and I was thinking, is that going to happen to the rest of the world? And I was not thinking about the virus. I was thinking about the the way that the government in China deals with its citizens, which is completely disgusting. So I think I was more pessimistic just looking at how a communist regime treats its people than about the disease itself. But I think in a sound society like here in Seoul, um, I think the disease is going to have a limited impact because of the measures that people take on a voluntary basis, and not because the government is there and beating them up, to do something. It's this city is a very nice example of how people should react to this. I think. But I've seen now there are several crises going on. You've seen there's a new boat, a new cruise ship that's likely going to become the Diamond Princess #2 of the coast of San Francisco, and the people in that boat, they're terrified because they have no idea what's going to happen to them, and they don't want to end up like the Diamond Princess #2. The I don't know. The United States is not letting them dock in San Francisco. I mean, what are they gonna do? And I think most of the passengers are Americans. And there's a lot of shortcomings. I understand that the American president has woken up to this problem, but there are so many shortcomings in the United States. And if the United States has shortcomings, imagine what's gonna happen when the infection hits an African country. But they don't have enough test kits. Mike Pence was asked, "Are people gonna have to pay for test kits?" And he did not answer. And this is completely irresponsible. The government has to have an emergency budget, and the government has to pay for the test kits to have anybody that needs testing be tested for free. The government needs to pay for the treatment of the people who are tested positive, and that should not be negotiable. The government has to pay these fees, and I think every country in the world needs to pay these fees. It's not up to the people to have to pay, because if people have to pay to get tested, of course, I would tell you that the majority of the population is not going to get the tests because they don't want to pay for it. They really need to work on their shortcomings. They need to be the leaders that the rest of the world is looking for. Yeah. They have a lot to deal with right now. So I'm monitoring this situation. I had no idea it was gonna go. Um, now the problem is not the number of deaths right now in the world, because if you got like a few hundred people dead in the world, it's, if you think about it, it's not a big deal. We've had like earthquakes, tsunamis with so many more deaths than that. But it's the way that this virus is spreading, and you're seeing now almost every country in the world has cases. Now, imagine that. Imagine China. Okay, of course we know that the number of cases in China is much bigger than what they're saying. But imagine if every country in the world becomes another China. Of course, I don't think it's going to happen, because uh, the reason why it got so bad in China is because of their government. They've got a bunch of thugs running the country, and it shows. But you know, you have to look about it. You have to look at it as something that's going to grow exponentially. So these numbers, the number of deaths, whether there's like 200, 300, 400 deaths, it's not really relevant. You have to look at the exponential growth of this thing. But yeah. So what I can tell you is to get prepared. Again, I'm telling you again, get prepared. If you live in an area where there has been no outbreak yet, stock up on masks, stock up on sanitizer. And if you can't find sanitizer, you can buy some bottles of bleach. And you can find some receipts on the internet that will tell you how to make all kinds of stuff to sanitize. Like, you can make a sanitizing spray. You can actually use bleach in the right way, of course, in the right way, right? To disinfect water. If you don't have any drinking water, your water is not safe. A few drops of bleach can actually purify your water and make it drinkable. Of course, only a few drops. You have to look on the internet, as to the amounts of bleach that are acceptable in your drinking water. But you can use bleach to make anything else that if you can't find alcohol or sanitizer or bleach can solve your problem. To buy gloves, I think if you have a mask, if you got gloves, and you sanitize yourself with either with bleach spray or alcohol, you're taking the best measures. And the masks, here in Seoul, I wear a mask, of course, because I don't want to look much different than everybody else. And I'm telling you, there are people who just take the subway and they don't wear masks at all, but they're in the minority. But I just want to look like everybody else. I don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. But a mask is not really there to protect you. It's more like some kind of like a common courtesy that you do in public, that you put on your mask. Just to be courteous to everybody else. That's all. It's if you were to go into a room where everybody's infected, your mask is probably not gonna protect you from the virus. So it's just you should stock up on you should stock up on them, because at some point, if there's a big outbreak in your area, you will not be able to take the bus if you don't have a mask on. They will not. People will maybe not allow you to go to the store, inside the store, if you don't have a mask. And places will start putting these rules there. So that's why you should stock up on masks. But I don't think it will really make you bulletproof. In terms of you getting the virus or not. So yeah. But you can actually make your own masks with cloth. and you can wash these masks at the end of the day, you know. So there are many ways you can prepare yourselves, even if you don't have any money. But yeah, money is, you should actually always save money and keep an emergency fund uh, that would allow you to live for several months, or at least 1 month, uh, if you don't, you know, if you have to, like, let's say you have to be quarantined, or you have to stay inside your home, or you need to leave in an emergency and live somewhere else for a month or a couple of months. You should always try to have an emergency fund. If you live paycheck to paycheck, you're going to be vulnerable when like an emergency, an outbreak, or something like that happens. So you need to think about that, and you should like stock up on food, uh, you know, food cans, or if you have a freezer, you can have meat in your freezer, and maybe like make it a goal to at least have enough to survive for a week. You know, so if the outbreak is in your area, you can just stay home and for a week, and you know, if the outbreak lasts longer, well, you know, maybe you can prepare to be able to last for longer. I mean, if you think about it, if you had everything that you needed, and you could stay like a month or 2 months in quarantine, that would probably protect you from getting the virus. So it's all a matter of being prepared, you know. And yeah, I was looking at a video. I think it's Lao Y86, and he was talking about China. You know, if you remember in 1989, there was a protest at Tienanmen Square of the students in China, and eventually China cracked down on these protests, and I mean, it's estimated that thousands of students in China lost their lives. A lot of them were actually executed by China for, you know, trying to stand up to their regime. And I think most people have forgotten about this, you know. But what Lao Y86 said in his videos, he made a comparison with what's happening now, how China is trying to get away with the coronavirus, you know, and the rest of the world is just forgetting now that they're seeing the coronavirus in outside of China, and they're forgetting about the violations of human rights that China has done, and during this crisis, and they're gonna get away with it, just like they got away with Tiananmen Square in 1989. The same party that was there at that time is still there now. You know, so you know you really should think about it. You really should think about that. You know, China has gotten away with Tiananmen Square, and now they're gonna try to get away with the coronavirus. So you know, think about it. That's it's very sad, and people have a very short memory. So I'm gonna leave you with that. I'm gonna keep monitoring the situation, and you know, in the meanwhile, of course, you should subscribe to my channel if you like my updates. And well, I will see you. I will see you soon.